Tim, just how do you go about solving some of the issues you're having on run defense, and where you think some of the primary causes for that lie? Is that a interior defensive line issue? Is that an edges issue? Linebackers, where you think the kind of root cause is, where it starts, and how you go about resolving it against the Stanford team, who I know what they're dealing with statistically, but they basically were down 3 running backs last week.
Right. The issue's been multiple, unfortunately. It'd be one thing if it was just, one thing. We've had guys not fit the edges well. When you've got young linebackers and you're not fitting things the way you're supposed to on the edges, it makes it harder on them. So we've got to do a much better job in the detail of teaching the technique and holding our players to account. And if they don't understand it, just keep repping it till they do get it right. And having some consistency at different positions will help us, hopefully getting guys back. But it's a matter of guys just executing the defense and making sure that they understand it and then go out and do it.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Tim, I wanted to ask about the 2 penalties on Arizona's, I think it was their last scoring drive, the hit from Noah and then also McHale's pass interference. From your perspective, is there anything you can do differently to coach those? I think especially with Noah, it seemed like that was kind of how you want him to be aggressive, and I don't know how you change
that. Sometimes you have penalties of aggression that you don't want to coach them out of being aggressive players. The things we want to emphasize is lowering his target. He was a little high, and that's where he's susceptible to getting a targeting penalty. And that was my major concern, that he wasn't going to do that. But when you hit the ball, when you hit the quarterback right as the ball's leaving his hand, obviously it's up to the judgment of the official. We don't always agree with the way officials see things, but that's the way it is. I don't want to get in trouble here.
Alvaro Torres, End Zoners.
Hi, Coach DeRuyter. I hope you're having a great day.
I am, thank you.
Tanner McKee has been playing really well through these 4 weeks, despite it being his first season as starter. Remember, he went on a 2-year mission with the LDS Church. And besides these 4 games, there is not much tape available on him. How does this affect your preparation for the game?
Well, I remember him out of Corona Centennial High School a few years ago, and he's a 5-star kid who's very, very talented. Yes, he did go on a mission. To me, I think guys that do that and come back with a different level of maturity. May have lost some time playing football, but it doesn't appear to be that way. You look at him, he looks like he's very poised. He's got a cannon of an arm, very athletic, can make all the throws in their offense and gets them in the right place. So he doesn't look much different than some of their better quarterbacks they've had through the years. He's a tall, athletic guy with a big time arm, just like last year's guy was. And so they've been very efficient with him throwing the ball and presents a lot of challenges.
Max Torres, Ducks Digest.
Coach, I know that the pass rush is an area of focus for you and the rest of the staff. It sounds like KT will be back, so that should give you guys a boost. But what are you seeing in your analysis of that, and how do you think you can address it?
Well, last week, having a little bit different attack than what we anticipated. We were seeing a lot of quick game, and a lot of the tendencies weren't what they were coming in. We've got to get guys to recognize that when we are getting short-sighted, how to convert and get after the quarterback. We ended up going to some of our 3-man rush stuff, which they're going to have extra time. But we've got to get guys to get on edges, recognize pass sets, and then convert and do a nice job rushing off edges. We had a couple of pressures dialed up that we didn't execute well enough. We had some busts there that we've got to get cleaned up. So again, it's a mix of things that we've got to clean up, and we've got to get guys executing our defense every time we go out.
Matt Preem, 247 Sports.
Yeah, Tim, I don't think it's like a requirement if you're Stanford that you have to recruit 6'3" or taller guys at tight end and receiver. Just Mario mentioned how they got a bunch of jumbo athletes. Just the challenge it is going to cover those guys and the physicality and I guess length that they bring.
Yeah, they definitely have a blueprint for what they're looking for there on their matchups. They're going to have a bunch of basketball players out there that they're going to try to get bodies on, and our guys have to understand that. And so you've got to do a great job of being in position, and then be able to almost box them out as they try to box you out. I think you got to mix the coverage so that the quarterback doesn't know exactly where the leverage is. And if we can do that and create some more pressure, obviously it'll help us, because the one thing that, McKee, like most quarterbacks, when he's in that pocket, he does a really nice job throwing really nice balls. But if you can get him to move his feet and get him where he's not set, now the accuracy goes down a little bit.
James Crepea, the Oregonian.
Tim, with Braden still out, I'm sure that still impacts some things by way of sub capability, because I'm guessing if he was in, that you could put Dorless more inside a little bit more readily. But what does Trevin's kind of last couple of weeks of consistent rush off the edge in particular offer you there, and Basa as well, just in terms of versatility, if you wanted to do something more substitution wise against 12 or 22? You haven't done a lot of it. I get why, but what do those guys offer you with Trevin playing better and Basa getting more reps, more opportunities?
Yeah, I've really been pleased with what Trevin's done coming into the year. He hadn't been a real dynamic edge rusher. He'd shown glimpses of it and had been really good on first and second down. But the last couple of weeks he's been getting better, and so he's a guy that hopefully we can continue to develop that, because we need, with Braden being down and KT being dinged up a little, now getting Mace back, probably a little bit more reps than what he was able to play last week should help there. And then obviously having DJ in the mix, we got to continue to develop him. Early on we didn't run fit as well as he would have liked to. We had a couple mental errors that led to some running issues, but in the pass game wise, he gives us some speed and some force off the edge. As far as Jeff, he's developing as well, and we've got some inside linebacker pressures, and I think he's the kind of guy, because he's got some burst to him and some bend, being able to bring either Noah or him or both of them can help us.
Julian Minnesota, KZI.
Tim, Bennett's obviously been fantastic. I mean, the way he's playing, could you kind of see this coming in the offseason and fall camp, or has anything he's done actually surprised you at all?
I think the only surprise is just how many plays he's made. He's been put in some tough positions where he's got to make an open field tackle, and he's done a tremendous job. He's always been a real smart guy, so he puts himself in position to make plays. And we noticed that from the springtime and then during camp. But he got extra reps, during training camp. We were down some personnel and really took advantage of that. And so, to see a senior like him, come back and take advantage of these extra reps and play particularly fast and efficient, I'm just really happy for him, because, he probably wasn't on a lot of NFL scouts' radar coming into this year, but you turn the tape on, you can't help but notice him, and that's kind of player he is. He impacts the game by how he plays.
Zach Neal, Ducks Wire.
Coach, Verone and Bennett have kind of stolen the spotlight in the secondary, which has allowed Mike Hale to kind of fly under the radar. Obviously, he had that great pick in the end zone last week, but how would you really assess his performance so far this year?
Verone or McHale?
McHale.
Okay, sorry. You led me down the Verone path and you threw McHale in there late. So, I've been happy with him. The one thing with McHale is he's been dinged up, and you wouldn't know it because he doesn't say anything. He's really, really quiet that way, but he just shows up with his lunch pail and he goes about his business. He's a guy that we feel really, really comfortable when he's in coverage, that, we don't have to worry a whole lot about his man. When things do break down, he does a nice job of plastering, like he did in the end zone the other day. He's not an overly physical guy, but he's not afraid to throw it up in there and make tackles. And so I've been really pleased with him. I'd love for him to gain another 10 or 15 pounds at some point. I'll feel better about him being a little bit more physical, but he's a guy that plays physical, even though he doesn't have that girth to him.
Last question, Jared Denny, Scoop Duck on 3.
Hey, Tim, I know Turquoise and Dante got quite a bit of playing time early in the season. How have you seen them continuing to progress now that DJ's back, and just how much of an asset do you think they can be against Stanford, against some of those kind of more physical receivers?
Yeah, when you get bigger guys like Stanford has, you want to look at matchups, and a guy like Triquez with his length and Dante with his size as well, they're going to be in the mix. And I like our competition there. With the 4 of those guys being able to rotate in, keep guys fresh, and throw different matchups at these guys. So we need all of them to have a great week of practice this week, have them understand the past concepts that Stanford's going to try to have them understand some of our disguises, and so that we can hopefully have them a little hesitant in what they're trying to do, and then obviously on Saturday got to go out and execute. So we anticipate all 4 of those guys playing, and whoever the hot hand is will have those guys keep matching up.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
No problem. All right, we'll see you guys.